Somewhere in America this week, a mom and dad are going to take their 12-year-old, drive 1,000 miles to the middle of nowhere, and wish him goodbye. He is going to live at a sports academy, train like a pro, have schooling handled for him, and eat like a king with a nutritionalist meal plan. And his parents are probably going to pay more than a full year of college tuition for this. At a place like IMG Academy, that number would be close to around $90,000 a year. All this for a kid, of course, who can't legally drive yet. When you say it out loud, it kind of sounds unhinged. And there's a viral version of this right now that I am coining sports monasteries. And of course, the comments are split right down the middle between this is amazing and this is just straight child abuse. I'll be honest, that really depends upon the operator. But here's what almost nobody in those comments really realizes. This is not some new weird modern invention. In fact, if we look at the history, which we will in the first part of this video, it is one of the most undefeated business models of all time. And the best part is right now it is finally cheap enough for millions of American families and families around the globe to participate, which is exactly where the smartest and most patient money in sports is going right now, which is why you've probably heard in the past few years or lately that private equity is destroying youth sports. So today I'm not going to just explain why this is happening, although that's important. I want to give you the actual playbook, the step-by-step on how you would build one of these completely from scratch. But let me be straight with you because it matters in this case. See, I run a sports agency that's a content team in a box for these types of businesses, meaning we come in and do all the social media around these sorts of academies. And while I have not risked my own capital, maybe my reputation, but not my own capital, into this business, I have certainly seen to this point what works and what doesn't from an operator lens. And I want to do something even better than giving you the playbook that I've seen work. I want to give you the blueprint of history overall that explains exactly how to make this business work. So we're going to back the majority of everything today with hard numbers. And then towards the end, I'll give you a piece of my own experience and what I think it means for you. By the way, if you like teardowns like this one today, where we rip into exactly how businesses around sports actually work and how to build them, then make sure to subscribe to this video. It helps the channel in ways you couldn't even imagine, and I thank you for that. So first disclaimer, before we get to the actual playbook, I'm going to give you the background of history. So if you're that kid that fell asleep through high school history, you're going to want to skip to the next chapter in this video. But if you want to know why this model has been near undefeated across time, here we go. So like I said, there's an entire historical record around this model. And I'm going to show you how many unrelated civilizations have run this playbook throughout time. Let's start with Sparta. When a boy turned 7, the state would immediately take him. Literally, they would remove him from his family and put him in communal barracks. And the system they would put him in is something called a Goge. And it was mostly physical training based, including survival techniques, warfare, the entire gambit. The entire point of this was transformation. Take a boy and turn him into something the city could actually use. Brutal? Yes, but look at the skeleton. Take a promising kid, pull him out of his home, and train him so that he can reach his ultimate potential. We've seen this before, but I'll continue. Now let's go to Athens for the more gentler version. The Greeks had a concept known as paideia, the education of the whole person. And the whole point of this was to fuse the beautiful and the good. You gotta love the Greeks, because in their opinion, a complete human was spiritually and physically excellent. And so where did they build that person? In something known as a gymnasium. Yes, the same gymnasiums we know today. Except back then, they looked like wrestling pits and libraries. I know, kind of strange. Body and mind, same building, same day, on purpose. In fact, the modern translation of gymnasium today is actually known as academy, which is why we slap it on everything. Quick little fact for you. And then we come to the more viral shock effect name, what I coined earlier in this video as a monastery. Now this also comes from the Greeks, and the word originally meant withdraw. You leave the world, go to some remote dedicated place and submit yourself to complete discipline. And thus, you were remade. And these monasteries were technically ancient schools. From about 300 AD, we would take kids and march them through the system that ultimately evolved to what we know today to be normal schools. In fact, one could actually say this was the original boarding school. And finally, my personal favorite, the medieval knight. If you wanted your son to be a knight, you took him at the young age of 7 or 8 and sent him to live 7 or 8 years at some lord's castle. You'd start at the castle as a page, then a squire, learn horsemanship and all the survival techniques and defensive techniques you needed. But just like all these schools across time, they had a strict code they must follow. It was basically a residential combat and character development academy. This all comes together in a very modern way that you and I can understand in Victorian England, where Thomas Arnold basically turned one of these things into the first rugby school. And it was actually a machine for producing the Christian gentleman. The belief was actually literally known as muscular Christianity. Essentially, that competition on the field forges one's internal spirit. They actually said that the seeds of future military victory were planted on the playing field. This idea that athletics was education is modern day PE class. Now again, take all these unrelated cultures and stack them on top of each other, and you end up with a similar model every single time. Take the kid, mold the kid, turn the kid from a kid to a man. And when a strategy gets reinvented that many times by that many people, it's probably not a gimmick. In fact, it's probably some law of human nature. And that's the opening, the reason that money is now on the table here. For almost all of history, this model was only made for the elite. Notice how I didn't talk about any poor paupers sending their kid to one of these academies when they were growing up. You are a Spartan citizen's son or a noble's kid. Or today, you are a hedge fund manager's bastard. Either way, that's the gap at scale. This thing is not meant for the middle class. So now let's get to how you're going to fill that. Today we're going to cover 7 moves, each one backed by history that we've already talked about, plus the numbers that actually make it work today from what I've seen. Move number 1 is to build the Honda, not the Ferrari. Now normally you do want to sell to the rich, but this model is a bit inverse. The instinct would be to copy the IMG Academies of the world. That's cool. It's also $94,000 a year and it's meant for the select few. And to be honest, if the barbell effect is true, you can win at any area of the market as long as it's not the middle. Meaning instead of offering something at $94,000 a year, maybe find something at 12 to 20. 5 to 10 could be even better. But I think the opportunity with the Honda Academy is to deliver 80% of what the IMGs can. As we'll get to, I don't think you want the team model to be a part of this business because it creates politics and friction, which is how businesses like Grind Academy are booming, charging $2,500 a month to give kids almost everything except an actual team to go play on. And that is the entirely new category of micro schools, these places that are doing this for under $10,000 a year. And the math is simple. Just take the down market TAM, or total addressable market, the amount of people you can reach, and you'll see that it's 10 to 100 times bigger than the other end of the barbell, the end that's IMG, $94,000 a year. You're not going to win by being the most exclusive, but you can win by taking the elite and making it for everyone, or at least affordable. We'll get to the ironic part of that statement at the end of this video. The point here is to build the version that a dual income family can support. The bigger the pool of families, the bigger your market. Move number 2 is to buy the dirt, not the city. I cannot tell you how true this actually is. But in 2026 and beyond, destination beats location. Take modern day Perfect Game, for example. Perfect Game is a business built off of baseball tournaments all around the country. And one of their biggest tournaments every summer is in the middle of Hoover, Alabama. Absolutely nobody in their right mind is taking a vacation to Hoover, Alabama. But every ambitious baseball player in the country wants to play against the best, and that's where they go. This means that you can get land for cheap. Rural land can go for as little as a couple $1,000s an acre. And that's exactly what Perfect Game took advantage of in that specific market. They created a destination and could care less about the location. You want enough land to grow, and again, don't be ridiculous and put this thing in the middle of Antarctica. You want to be somewhat close to some sort of metro area where families can at least hop on a freeway and get to you. Then you let the programming, not the geography, pull them in. The equation here is that cheap land plus an elite program builds a destination monopoly. Pilgrims travel to the temple, and they always will. Now for move number 3, you want to sell the diploma, not the dream. This is the structural hack that separates out a serious business from another travel organization. It's the gymnasium principle I told you about earlier. Body and mind as one. You're not selling training. You're selling education plus training as one package. Concretely, this means becoming an accredited school in some sort of format and align with academics that have NCAA eligibility. That is huge. And this ultimately keeps kids eligible to play for their local public schools. In fact, a little bonus here, if you actually take each kid and create an educational plan just for them, you can charge more for it. Some kids want to just go play junior college ball. Some want to go play at Princeton. You taking the time to map out academically how they get to either one of those places is a lot of value and something that you can charge for. Instead of just fees, it feels more like tuition. Luckily for us, this is a backed trend in the data. Families are now treating sport like education for their kids. The percentage of Americans that spend $1,000 or more on their kids' sports year to year is up 46% from 2019 alone. So if you sell the body, you're just gonna get a gym. But if you sell the body and the mind, you'll grab the future. You are now a school that parents cannot say no to. To recap, all you need to do is accredit the academics and protect eligibility. If you don't protect eligibility, I'll be straight with you, your business doesn't deserve to survive. Now, number 4 is you begin to manufacture your own traffic around the destination. As we've talked about, destination is more important than location. And I'll be straight with you, this is pretty easy to think about, but this is just a modern day tournament. Think of like Cooperstown Village for baseball players. And if you don't know what that is, club baseball players from around the country every summer go to Cooperstown, I think at the age of 12 or 13, to compete in this tournament week to week. And then the winners of every week can come back at the end of the summer to win the entire summer. Now we're talking about academies right now, so what does this have anything to do with tournaments? Well, if you can align yourself as a training facility or a recovery center for these tournaments, you're gonna do very well. In fact, a lot of times you could probably wrap in team fees into one bundle, where the tournament is selling an enhanced fee to the team coming in to use your facilities as well. Of course, they're marking it up, but they're doing the selling for you, so it's worth the idea. This is great for you because you get fat ancillary revenue, but you're also getting a recruiting funnel for you. Think of all the top of funnel kids that are gonna find out about your school or your program for the very first time. And if there's one thing we know about high school sports is that families will move and do anything to get their kid to the right program. The event thus feeds the academy. So number 4 there is find a way to get in front of tournament traffic. I would not be afraid to give up a bit of revenue to get this traffic in the door, because where else is it coming from? Number 5 is to move money forward in the business. This looks like stacking revenue per kid. It's exactly what I was talking about earlier, where you're using academic advisement as a way to sort of tack onto the tuition. And I wouldn't do this by going by every single kid and offering him custom a la carte options. I would just say, hey, this is $20,000 a year because of the 500 other things that we are also doing for you on top of your normal education and training. It can be anything from the 24-hour access to the hot tub that he gets. And then during the summer, you segment the schedule of the building and figure out what camps you can bring in. There are quite seriously baseball leagues in Las Vegas right now that are paying places like Grind Academy tens of thousands of dollars just to use their indoor facility because it's 115 right now. The point is you don't need dramatically more customers in this business to make dramatically more money. You just sometimes need more offers to the customers that are already enrolled. Number 6, and this comes with my disclaimer that I've not actually done this, is government tuition. We have a lot of customers that do this, but guys, I have no touch on this, so please realize that. And note with all this, please, that results may vary, so seek professional advice for any and all of this. But this can turn a nice business into a wave. As of 2025, 12 states have something known as school choice, and close to half of all American students now have access to some sort of voucher. This is basically an educational savings account. Public money that follows the kid. The state of Texas has launched one of these programs committing up to $10,000 per kid and has already paid out $820 million. If you're structured as an accredited school, you should definitely look at this. Sometimes, maybe most of that tuition can actually be covered by the state. This slashes the price for families and de-risk your revenue reliance, because you understand that the government will most likely be backing it. So the family that couldn't send their son or daughter to $90,000 IMG Academy can send them to yours, which is generally $12,000 a year, and with the state covering half, it's now 6. This is a lot of, by the way, of how private equity is seeing things. Let's just say there's a lot of lobbying behind the scenes you'll want to keep an eye on. So the point here is to get accredited ESA or voucher dollars flowing your way. The government becomes your tuition cosigner, if you will. And finally, number 7, make your content your customer acquisition engine. This move compounds everything, and it is still so underrated. Even as you're watching this video now, you might be thinking, wow, the internet's getting really big. There are a lot of people making a lot of content. And you would be right, but it is still not enough. And now we're just figuring out that niche channels of the internet actually exist. But people need to look at this as their academy being a content factory. In fact, that is a huge selling point, I think, of actually getting kids in the door in the first place. Parents are more helicopter than ever, and they want to see their kids having a good time, or at least being appreciated in the environments they're at. So imagine an academy where you can actually see your son or daughter hitting or fielding or training on a daily basis. It gives that positive feedback loop that everyone wants. And it creates the FOMO feedback loop that every single person who's not there or doesn't have their kid there feels. Like, oh dang, Grind Academy. Wish my kid could grind there. Of course, it goes without saying, but you should probably factor that into some sort of waiver. But by the time my agency shows up to shoot all this stuff and publish it, we have that permission, in case anyone was wondering. The proof, though, is Overtime Elite in Atlanta. On paper, it's a school and basketball league, but at the end of the day, it is now one of the best media buys that you can make into youth basketball. Meaning, if you're a brand and you want to get in front of youth basketball families and their kids, you advertise with them. Imagine all the local law firms and QSRs that would want to be on this sort of content. Like Jack in the Box are the people that are making the 100 tacos for your kid and his friends after they're done training. I would know because before this, that was my job. And again, we have direct experience doing this. I can't tell you how many times during the week I am writing up clipping and content plans for these youth academies now. So it's going to get competitive, and it's going to happen, I think, within the next 12 months. Again, if you're trying to scale one of these businesses, you can check out in the link down below more about our business and how we can help. But imagine a world in which your flywheel of content is actually your customer acquisition engine, plus a new revenue stream in the future for all sorts of different things from a local sponsorship perspective. Again, that's my one operator card in this case, and I'm playing it honestly. But content is now a product, a funnel, and revenue line every academy must have in 2026 and moving forward. Now, all this being said, there is one critical piece to this mission. You must sell the transformation. Think of all the bodybuilding and fat loss gurus on the internet. They are not telling you how many people they've sent to the next Olympia. And the reason this is so important is because you could build the wrong thing from the very beginning and it will completely fail. The odds for the people losing weight and the odds for the kids joining these academies are slim to none. Absolutely brutal. And the percentage of those that get meaningful scholarships and go to the next level is very, very slim, especially in the world I grew up with. Like in baseball, there were only 11 scholarships that had to get split between 35 guys on a college roster. And with NIL, it's even messier now. But the academies that will win over the next decade will sell the transformation. Sounds corny, but they will take the before and after pictures. They will sell the TrackMan data and how you've evolved. The point is that you are not selling a lottery ticket dressed up as a plan. You are building whole, completed, educated, and strong human beings. And that's the standard. If you remember anything from this, if you protect the kid, you protect your bottom line. So let's go all the way back to the mom and dad at the beginning of this video. They were driving their kid out to the middle of nowhere. From the outside, it looks a bit dystopian, but hopefully now that you've seen the inside, you can see that this has been evolving for quite some time. In fact, over 2,500 years of human history to be exact. We were the strange ones that decided to split mind and body apart. But that public schooling experiment is quickly failing, as we all see. And now you have the playbook to be on the right side of it in the name of sport, because how can you not be romantic about sports? That said, if you made it this far, genuinely, thank you. Again, if you run a program or are looking to build one, the link to our website is down below. I highly recommend checking that out or scheduling some time with us if the content and media piece is as big a deal to you as it is to us. Now, there's a lot of stuff I left out of this, like land arbitrage and all that good stuff that I'm sure I'll get to in a different video. But leave any comments you have down below and I'll try and get to them. And if you want more content like this on a daily basis that is 1/10 the length, check out the link to my Instagram down below. We're posting there daily. And again, I know I keep saying it, but thank you so much. This channel is new, so make sure to save it, share it, do anything you can to get it to friends. I much appreciate that. And we'll see you on the next time. Till then, peace be with you guys. Adios.